Hey YouTube, so this will be my top 5 tips for backpacking India. Tip number 1, always eat hot food. The reason why people say to always eat hot food in India at least is so that all the bacteria is burned off in the process of making. It is no secret that India's food can be a bit unsanitary, and the term Delhi belly is not a term for no reason. When I was in India, I always got hot stuff, like I got hot chai. Even though lassi was delicious, I tried not to get it because lassi is usually served cold. I'm not sure if you can get the hot version of it. And a subset rule is to get your shots before going to India. That's rule number 1. Or tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to explore the Himalayas. The mountain range in India, also known as the Himalayas, is a beautiful, peaceful place in India. And India is known as a spiritual place, not for no reason at all. So many gurus have originated from India, and some Indians even believe that when Jesus died, he reincarnated in Ladakh region. That's just a bit of a segue. Yeah, and when you're exploring the Himalayas, you could get a hired driver to drive you and your friends, or even if you're alone, you can go to an agency and the agent can link you to travel with, let's say, 3 or 4 other travelers to save costs. If you do a full group of, let's say, 5 people for one traveler in, let's say, the Spiti Valley in India, it could cost around 800 to 1000 rupees for the 5 days of a tour around Spiti Valley. Another subset rule for this would be to join traveling groups on Facebook to get recommendations if people have had good experiences with the agencies. Tip number 3, haggle. This tip is especially important if you're on a tight budget. I would haggle for everything, mostly when I shop for stuff, when I'm buying stuff from roadside shops, or when I am haggling for accommodation. One thing I would not haggle for would be food. You don't want to haggle for food because you don't want the shopkeeper to give you worst ingredients or do bad things to your food, you know. So yeah, here is a clip on
how much he says. You have to ask him
how people haggle in India. A good rule is to get the asking price from the shopkeeper, drop it down to a quarter of the price, and then haggle your way to half price. So let's say a thing is 100 rupees, the shopkeeper said. You can ask for 25 rupees and slowly work your way up to 50 rupees. Seasoned shopkeepers usually can call bullshit, especially if you're not used to haggling. So it might take a while for you to reach the level of haggling proficiency to be able to haggle to half price. You might usually settle for 80%, 90% of the price even. Subset rule is to learn to count and speak and ask for the price in Hindi. Why this rule is useful is because then the shopkeepers won't be so daring as to give you a really bad tourist price, especially if he knows that you know Hindi. And it can be especially good to stick around the shop and hear how much the shopkeeper is quoting locals, so you get a good idea of what the price is. How much is this? Is iska bhav kya hai? How much is it? And counting from 1 to 10 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. My Hindi teacher taught me that. Thank you, Sandhya Guruji. Tip number 4 would be eat at the dhabas. Dhabas are roadside food stalls in India, so they usually look more run down and they don't usually look like an established restaurant, and they are what they are, roadside food stalls. They are usually the cheapest and the most delicious. So right now as I sit here, I'm thinking of the time I ate palak paneer in one of the dhabas in in the Himalayas. I'm not sure which city, which village, but the taste is really good. Dhabas are usually family run, and they are usually friendly. Usually you may chat with the cooks if they're inclined to, but sometimes they're busy. But usually you get a more friendly vibe, a more family run vibe. Usually more chill. The price is really good too, usually. So 4 years ago, chai would be anywhere from 10 rupees to 20 rupees. Dhabas may be dirtier, and there would definitely be no AC because it's a roadside stall, but all in all, 20 out of 10 worth. Tip number 5. This is a very general tip. Not sure that I should have put it in, but it is what it is. Keep an open mind. Try and make friends if the opportunity presents itself. Learn the local vernacular. Make more local friends, especially local Indians who are traveling their own country. I say this point about making more local friends because it is one of the regrets that I have currently, that I didn't make more local friends, but I did make a lot of international friends when traveling. So I met my good friend Gal while traveling in Dharamshala, and it was a really nice experience. Sometimes things are more fun with friends, especially if you're a solo backpacker and you meet another solo backpacker and you both have your independence and there's not so much attachment, but still there is. Last subset rule is to keep moving after being stagnant. What I mean is, if you're feeling stagnant, like you're back to being in your own shell, back to being your old self, it may do good to keep moving. Travel to the next city, or do something adventurous, more adventurous than usual. Talk to random people if you've been wanting to but have been putting it off. I mean, a wise man once said, people are like water. They go bad after staying in one place for so long. I mean, the exact quote was, yogis are like water. They turn bad after staying in one place for too long. That's it. I hope you enjoyed your 5 tips for thriving in India. Till next time.